So thinking about what Wiley just said about the trauma that kids are experiencing and the support that they need, I work at Simeon, which is a school with 1,400 students, right? So out of about 1,400 students, we have two full-time police officers and we have one part-time social worker. So I want you to just think about what message that sends to our kids. What message is the city telling our students? And what do we actually have to offer? What do we have to support our kids who are going through this? Not only do cops bring harm and trauma to our learning environments, they're also hoarding our city's resources, right? They are taking the city's resources while our kids, our communities, our schools are suffering. So I want to talk about some organizing that I did this past summer to remove SROs from schools, and kind of some of the big lessons that I took from it and what I'm thinking about kind of moving forward. So last summer, as the fight to remove SROs became an LSC decision, a group of CTU members created this coordinating committee for police-free schools. And so in that committee, it turned into us creating a coalition, right? We had 18 schools around the city and we strategized together. This was a group of educators, students, parents, community members, community orgs like Raise Your Hand Illinois. You guys were so helpful. And we were able to use each other's support, right? We shared what was working. We shared common challenges, solutions. Some schools had already voted and removed SROs, while some of us were just organizing for the first time. So in that time, we were able to see kind of the nuances of how the LSC functions, the challenges with that. And I talked to so many staff members, so many educators, specifically for my school, in a hope that they would vote to remove SROs from Simeon, but also just educators around the city and trying to get them on board. And I learned three main things that I really want to share with you all. The first thing was that people are generally compassionate. People agree that our kids don't need to be intimidated by cops while they're being taught. The other thing was that people want more resources for our kids, right? They know that they're not getting what they need and deserve and want that for them. The third takeaway, though, was the hardest. And it's that it is really hard to reimagine what schools look like without cops. And that's where people struggled, from my perspective, to then join us, right? It was there with us on the reasoning, and then the inability to kind of figure out what we'll do instead makes it so hard for people to buy in enough to want to join us. And, that's the part that breaks my heart, believing that because it doesn't exist, it cannot exist. And I get it. It is really hard to reimagine it because we've been functioning like this for so long. So, noting that noting that that's our greatest challenge, the Police Free Schools Coordinating Committee is working now and talking about potential alternatives, right? We're thinking about how can we reimagine what police free schools would look like, what they would feel like. And my big call to everyone today is just to follow your instinct. If you're hearing us and you know that it doesn't sound right what the kids are saying and that you don't want them to feel intimidated and afraid at school, and you know that they deserve more resources and you want them to have social workers to help them, socially and emotionally, then I really urge you to follow that instinct and not get caught up on what exactly is the alternative. Because if we know the first two, we know that we need an alternative. And I think that's a good enough place to start. Knowing that what's happening is not working, we absolutely need an alternative, and follow that good instinct and join us as we collectively, right, determine what that is. Because there isn't an answer, but all of us working together and being creative and knowing what we need and defending what we need and defending what our kids need, I think will make all the difference. And it will give us this option and this reality to have schools without police.